It's time for Twig This Week in Google. Jeff Jarvis is here. Paris has the day off, but Father Robert Ballecer, the digital Jesuit, joins us. Big story, of course, Google losing to the Department of Justice in its antitrust suit. What does this mean? Not just for Google, but for the companies Google pays, like Mozilla and Apple and Samsung. We'll also talk about the lawsuits, the many lawsuits of Elon Musk, and new products coming along from Google. We'll have the big announcement on Tuesday, but we've got a preview for you today. It's all coming up next on Twig.
Podcasts you love.
From people you trust.
This is Twig.
This is Twig, This Week in Google, episode 780, recorded August 7th, 2024. Aggiornamento. It's time for Twig This Week in Google, the last show, the very last show of all shows in the East Side studio. Jeff Jarvis is not here. He's there. Where are you, Jeff?
Philadelphia, right across from City Hall.
He is the Emeritus Leonard Tao Professor for Journalistic Innovation at the Craig Newmark Graduate School of Journalism at the City University of New York.
Did we lose the Craig music?
Benito's scrambling.
Craig. Not today. Next week.
Newmark.
I have in the new studio a dedicated Craig Newmark button. I just want you to know.
Yeah,
I will have that. And I will have a moral panic button as well.
Yes.
Good to have you, Jeff. What are you doing in Philly?
There's a journalism educators pre-conference, kind of fun things I do. So I'm here for that.
Sounds like fun. Yeah. Paris Martineau has been called away to the nation's capital.
Actual work.
We're not sure why. She's doing some, she says, reporting from Washington, D.C. So we don't know what that's all about, but that sounds pretty exciting. But good news, Father Robert Ballecer, the digital Jesuit, is sitting in. We love Robert. And it is kind of important that you're here because you were also here on the very first show we did from the studio.
Indeed. I am sort of a Twit studio bookend here. So I'm actually very happy to be back, even though I am coming to you from an extremely hot closet in near Las Vegas right now.
Oh, you're not in the holy city.
No, I had to come back for Black Hat DEF CON. I mean, that's Geek Summer Camp, Leo. Yeah.
Oh, DEF CON's coming up. When is that?
That starts tomorrow.
And you've been going, how many years have you been going to DEF CON?
This is DEF CON 32. I have been to 27 of them.
Wow. All but 5.
Yeah.
So DEF CON is the more formal kind of event. And then there's, after that, the real hacker event, which is Black Hat.
Flip that around. So Black Hat is it's the professionals. It's the people who actually need to expense things on reports and talk about synergy and such. And then DEF CON is the community. It's Burning Man with networks and security.
Okay.
And half the nudity.
So Father, I'm thinking that maybe, is there a last rites for the studio? Is there some kind of blessing?
I'm thinking the studio always felt a bit more reincarnational to me. So I think it's going away for now. It will be back. So no, I don't think it needs that.
Okay.
I like it. It's a little hardship for me. We're saying goodbye. This is the last day for our longtime studio manager, Jammer B, John Slanina. Who's helping us. He'll be here for a few more days, helping us pack stuff up and prepare. The liquidators come in and they go through everything and they decide what can be sold, what could be recycled, and what could be trashed. And then they clear.
They don't charge you for any of that. They just
we get 50% of anything they make from sales. So,
I did that with my parents' place when we moved into the old house place, and I never heard from them again.
Yep.
Great. Well, it's a bit of a chore to get rid of all this stuff. There's a lot of stuff in here.
You don't realize how much stuff you accumulate when you have a space. Man. The space, it fits the space.
It's George Carlin, the law of George Carlin.
And by the way, Father Robert knows about this because he's the one who built the no hole in the old studio.
Oops.
He had a nest
I did.
The old, what was the no hole? Because by the way, I didn't even know it was there until we moved.
Yes.
It's like discovering a rat's nest in your home after you move out. What was the no hole?
Imagine being in a place that is not charging you for the basement because they can't bring it up to standard.
The ceiling was too low. Yeah.
The ceiling was too low. And then let's just say some geeks end up going down there and saying, you know what? If we brought in a couple of tables, some computers, a few refrigerators, pinball machines, ping pong table, bean bags, this could actually be a nice place.
Who's
that
to
was
know?
a no hole.
It was a little love nest. Brian had a place down there, and he came by the way, just a couple of days ago.
I saw that. He sent me the photo. Oh,
yeah. Alex came by, Alex Gumpel, some of the old timers. Ant's here right now. Just either to say goodbye or to grab stuff. I'm not sure which.
And already got the good haul with the coffee machine.
Yeah. All right. Well, there is some news. There's actually quite a bit of news. There's Google news. There's X news. There's Intel news. What do you want to start with first?
What's the show called?
It's the Google show. So we should talk about the fact that, in fact, some have likened this lawsuit to the lawsuit against Microsoft in the late 90s.
Yep.
According to a judge, and this is in the DOJ's lawsuit against Google, on Monday, the judge ruled that Google did, in fact, illegally monopolize the search market through exclusive deals, a win for the government in its first major antitrust case,
and a loss for everybody else
in more than 2 decades. Judge, I'm reading from Bloomberg. Judge Amit Mehta said in Washington that the Alphabet unit's $26 billion in payments, most of that to Apple, to make its search engine the default option on smartphones and web browsers, effectively blocked any other competitor from succeeding in the market. And just in case you didn't know this, Google pays Apple, last time we checked, $20 billion a year to be the default search on iOS on Safari. Not that you can't change it, but it's that valuable.
Benedict Evans did an analysis, and I think he said that because it's 100% margin, it's like 20% of Apple's profit.
It's a huge amount. Apple's services now made more money than Mac, iPad, and portable stuff like watches combined. 28% of the total revenue for Apple. It's second only to the iPhone. And a good portion of that, probably a quarter of it, is from Google.
How much money did Google pay to? What really worries me here is Mozilla,
Firefox. Yeah,
Firefox. How much was that?
Those are the two groups that Google was paying. And
Samsung, didn't they pay Samsung?
Maybe, yeah, they probably did.
I think so too. Yeah.
Let me see what the number was for. The real fear is not so much. In fact, I think we have it in the rundown. The real fear is not so much for Apple. Apple will have, this is this article from Jason Del Rey in Fortune. Forget Apple. The biggest loser in Google search, in the Google search ruling, could be Mozilla and its Firefox web browser. 510 million of the revenue. The most recent revenue we have is 2022. Of the 593 million in revenue for Mozilla, 510 was Google paying. That means, 90%. 80% of the money that Mozilla makes comes from that payment, from single payment from Google. So now the good news, I guess, or at least it puts it off. It's going to be a while before anything actually happens here. It is possible that the judge could demand, the Justice Department hasn't said yet what remediation it's going to seek, but it could demand separation of the search business from other businesses like Android or Chrome, which would be a big deal breakup, kind of akin to what they did to AT&T in the 80s. Meta's decision focuses solely on Google's liability. 10-week trial in court, 9 months thinking about it. Meta has scheduled a hearing for next month to discuss a separate trial on the remedy. So they have to have another trial. So let's see. Wait a minute. This took a year just to get this done. Another trial a year, and then appeals. Right? This will, I'm sure, go to the Supreme Court.
Yeah,
antitrust
They could
enforces.
shortcut it. I mean, if they take the remedy that's being kind of almost not quite yet, but soon offered in the EU, which is to do the Microsoft thing, the thing that Microsoft did with browsers, which is give people a choice at the initialization of a device as to what search engine they would like to use. Now, the other important thing is to remember that what the court found was that Google had a monopoly in text search, but not in general search. So that really narrows down exactly what they think they need
I didn't
to
realize that.
Right. Yeah, so they're dividing it there. They're saying Google did not have a monopoly over general search, especially when you think of vendors like Amazon and Walmart, which are now using their own form of search engine within their own properties. So this is a very specific part of Google's business that the courts are saying that's illegal. It's a significant part. And yes, it does require Google to make a lot of payments to vendors that are making products and services that they want people to search through. But it's not as if this is the entire Google empire suddenly under the legal knife.
Here's another question. EU antitrust doctrine is about size and market pressure and so on.
Correct.
In the US, as we know, antitrust is really about consumer harm. Does this decision change the case law at this level in terms of antitrust doctrine? Because it's hard to find consumer harm here.
Yeah.
I don't really see any. And in terms of the companies, they weren't harmed. They were paid a fortune. So it didn't hurt them. Under what basis, I wonder, does this go to the Supreme Court? And did this district court try to change the law?
That was my take. I was so surprised by this because of the harm. I mean, for me, every case has always been about harm. You can have a monopoly as long as the courts decide that it's not really hurting the consumer. So when I think of who's being hurt by this, it's not Apple, it's not it's not Mozilla. You know, the only
it's advertisers.
Only entity, yeah, it's advertisers. That's it. But I mean, it's not like they're locked out of the market. It's just Google had a better seat. Now, what this means for the future is, again, they're probably going to have to divorce part of the company so that they're not playing both sides of a search transaction. But for the consumer, I think it's going to lead to a poorer experience. Yes.
Yeah, it's like, I don't see how this is better. Cookie buttons to check all the time. That kind of irritation for the sake of a misplaced principle. And we talked about this before, Leo. I think you and I agreed about this. It's true monopoly muscle wielding power would be you must take our search engine, period. Not we're going to pay you a fortune for it and we're going to negotiate that payment in a fair way. That doesn't seem like the use of monopoly power. And as a consumer, again, I just prefer Google. I don't want Bing. I don't want DuckDuckGo. Their commercials irritate me. Leo likes to play with all kinds of other search engines because he's weird. But I guess we can't use the word weird anymore in that context. He's odd. But again,
you could argue that the reason you like Google and you don't like any of the other ones is because Google has sewn up the market. I mean, that isn't really a defense. But you're saying there's nothing else is good. Well, that's right, because Google is dominant.
Well, no, but hold on a second there, Leo. What do? They scrape the web. So does Microsoft.
But they have all the revenue from search ads, so they have all the money, so they can make a better search
that
engine.
doesn't affect me. As a consumer,
well, it might. I mean, the Justice Department said it does affect consumer choice. I think it's, you could say, well, golly, you shouldn't hold Microsoft's feet to the fire because Edge is, or I guess Internet Explorer is the best browser. But that's the point, because they dominate. It's the best browser. And in fact, when the Justice Department forced Microsoft to kind of back off on its monopoly, and this is, by the way, in the early 2000s, Google arose. Google came out of that. Google benefited from that. So I think that you don't know what the options are yet because there haven't been any options.
But I would argue that antitrust legislation and enforcement is always behind the times, right? Microsoft was at the top. Oh my God, we got to do something. And then competition was coming up on its own. Whether Google was made by that decision or Google was winning anyway, I would argue the latter. And right now, all the buzz out there, we don't know if it's true or not, is that agentic chat LLM search is going to create huge killing competition to Google. So it's at this moment when Google is supposedly under threat that the government decides that they're going to cramp down on Google.
That's true. I mean, these things take time. And unfortunately, the tech industry moves pretty rapid clip. Doesn't mean, though, that we shouldn't seek some sort of remedy. The Justice Department did present evidence, to answer your question, that efforts by European regulators to require Google to offer users a choice of search engines led few to switch. So they aren't going to look for that kind of European ballot. According to Bloomberg, they could demand the separation of Alphabet's search business from other products like Android or Chrome. The judge could also stop short of ordering a full breakout and choose to unwind the exclusive search deals. In other words, you can't give Apple $20 billion. You can't give Firefox.
Surely Apple's going to have a role in that appeal at some sort. Can Apple?
I don't think so.
No.
Apple's, but Your Honor, we want that $20 billion. I mean, what are they going to say?
That's what I'm saying. Is
another option, which now this is interesting. Listen to this. Could be to require Google to license its search index. So then Bing or DuckDuckGo could be better, could be as good as Google.
Well, that's
one of the reasons I hop around from search engines is Google's gotten worse and worse and worse. And I think you can make a strong case that a lot of the reason it's gotten worse is because it's favored its ad business over its search results.
Or the web has gotten worse and worse and worse because it's jammed with crap, and we're blaming Google for that.
Well, here's a way to find out. let's say that. I frankly use Kagi search, and I find the search results useful. No, that's the one I've been using for a while. After Neva went out of business, because why? Nobody can compete with Google. Neva didn't go out of business, but they got out of the search business and sold.
They had a bad business model. All right, so
I've been using Bing for more than a decade.
Yeah, you've always liked Bing.
One of 5 people, I think.
Yeah. So why do you prefer Bing, Father Robert?
Well, it was a conscious decision because I like to fight functional monopolies. So I want to spread around my personal information. That's the same reason why I fuzz all the data that goes to Google. I've got more than 60 now, 60 node devices spread across the world that are putting information in my name through my Google account. So it never knows how to target me or where I am. But I mean, that's the anarchist to me. I do that out of personal principle. But I did not find any harm from Google's functional monopoly. I thought they were able to do some interesting things. There is a lot of potential harm, but I didn't see anything in the court case that showed that the prosecutors had proven that any of the potential harm had become actual harm.
I agree. Let me ask you both a question, just to play out this scenario. And I didn't know what you said, Padre, was that it's a limited monopoly. Mm-hmm. If Google were forced to hive off just that, now that their revenue is beyond, now that it's about the whole ad business, we'll put other antitrust about that to the side, and it's about placement of ads all over the web, and it's about hosting and AI and all kinds of other things. If they were forced, is search, is that part of search still critical to the soul of what Google is? Or could they move it aside and not be hurt?
I think it's important enough that they're going to definitely throw some legal horsepower at this because they don't want to get rid of a good thing. For me, the biggest potential harm that I actually wasn't really mentioned in any of the court documents that I could find was that in paying a potential competitor like Apple not to develop their own search technology because they're getting so much money from Google, that was the real harm. Now, again, I don't think that's actual real harm because I don't think Apple actually wanted to create search engine technology. That's not their thing. They
Apple got out of the ad business.
Precisely.
Apple got out of the ad business. And so, they
the irony is Apple has been very clear. Even even for nothing, we wouldn't use Bing. It would never be the default search. We don't think Bing is any good. Google probably didn't have to give him $20 billion.
Yeah.
They probably would have made Google the default search anyway.
Yeah.
Ironically. But maybe the $20 billion was to discourage Apple from doing something else. There was a time when Apple definitely was looking into. Yeah. It's hard to, but there was a time you could point to a time when Apple was trying to do a search engine, and it could very well be that was the point. Would have been back in Steve Jobs' day, and Eric Schmidt and Steve did not like each other much, but they did meet from time to time. Schmidt could easily have said, "Look, well, let's give you some money. Don't do a search engine. Just keep using Google." And Steve might have said, "No, okay, fine. We won't do that." So we don't know. You're right. It's hard to prove the negative. The reaction to the judge's decision is very positive, according to Bloomberg. William Kovacic, who teaches antitrust at George Washington Law School, said Meta's decision is reasonable and balanced. It's not simply a credulous acceptance of the government's argument. He served on the FTC during the Bush administration. Some of Meta's analysis about advertising markets may raise difficulties for the government, Bloomberg writes, as it pursues a second case against Google, but the opinion will likely be helpful for a number of the government's other antitrust cases awaiting trial against Apple, Amazon, and Meta on how to consider justifications by the companies for their own behavior. Rebecca Allensworth, antitrust professor, Vanderbilt Law, says Meta's decision is, quote, bold in a legally careful way that will do well on appeal and will lay the blueprint for other tech cases going forward. So this is a very important
changing antitrust law when it comes to tech.
And if you're going to change that antitrust law, number one on that list is Apple, because Apple has also had a functional monopoly in their space.
Yes.
But because there's been no harm, no one's gone after them. Well, if you're going to change case law, Apple's number one.
Apple wrote a very strong defense and a request for dismissal, and we talked about it yesterday on MacBreak Weekly. And one of Apple's points was, this is not in the Sherman Antitrust Act. We are not a monopoly. You are expanding the definition of antitrust, and that's not for a court to do. That is for Congress to do. I thought it was quite a strong argument. I was very impressed by it. We'll see if the judge is. This is, we're in interesting times. I know I'm have some strange bedfellows when I say this, but I think you could argue that Google has gotten too powerful. That Google, because it dominates 80 or 90% of all searches, has become the de facto definition of what the internet is. If it's not on Google, it doesn't exist.
You see, I don't think that's the funny thing to me. It's like the browser war with Microsoft. We didn't care about browsers by the time that got done. I think search is yesterday's battle. And I'm not talking about AI here. What I have said is that where Google is vulnerable is having both sides of the advertising transaction. I don't know if I mentioned this on the show, but I got a call from a lawyer whether I wanted to, or they wanted me to testify as an expert in a case involving advertising and antitrust. I said, well, here you got to know what I've said in public in my book, which is that Google is vulnerable in this. And they said, yeah, never mind. We don't want you.
Whoops.
We thought you'd say something else. But I've always said that's where it took the government this long to get here. And this is a sidelight here, but it's fascinating to me that Reid Hoffman got into all kinds of kerfuffles because he gave a bunch of money, a huge amount of money to Kamala Harris. He's been out there really organizing for it. But the far left went after him because he also criticizes Lina Khan and says that he hopes Lina Khan gets fired. They're trying to accuse him of using his contributions, and he's not. And I trust Reid on this. He's honorable about this. But the far left, the progressives are very much boosting Lina Khan on all this. And Silicon Valley is saying, if you go too far in this antitrust stuff, you're going to cut off secondary markets, you're going to cut off investment, you're going to cut off innovation, you're going to turn into Europe. Beware. And that's where the interesting fight, I think, to me, is coming up. But because it comes back to where is the harm to the marketplace and to the consumers, and that needs to be the test.
You could make a strong case that putting Firefox out of business would actually be legitimately doing harm.
Yes.
to the public, and then that might be the outcome of this decision.
Hugely. And it's not just Firefox; it's what else Mozilla does to maintain an open internet.
But one of the things that we love about Mozilla and Firefox is that it's not Chrome or Chromium.
Yeah.
And this is another area where Google is completely dominant. Even if you're not using Google's Chrome, you're probably using a Chromium-based browser like Microsoft's Edge or Brave or Arc or any number of Opera. They're all based on Chromium. So if you include all those, Google must have, it's Safari, Firefox, and all the rest is Google. That must be a huge percentage.
So is Chrome to you is not open source, it is free, right? Based on our discussion last week.
Yeah, so Chromium is the open source part of the Google
so it is open
Chrome.
Source.
It's on GitHub, but it's also everybody who works on it is from Google. And the thing is, because it is an open source project, companies like Arc and Microsoft can make browsers based on an Opera for free.
This is a weird question.
And Google likes that because
in the AI world, is Transformer more similar to because is it open sourced like Chromium, or is it more like Meta's Llama that it's because everybody's building their LLMs on Transformer, right?
Right. Well, I'm not sure.
What is this
that's a good
model
question. I don't know if the
right?
source. I don't know if the source code is open source. So I don't know if it's traditionally open source. I'll look into that. But the thing is, it's based on well-known concepts in the literature. I mean, there are only a handful, something like 7 papers that define all modern AI, LLM AI architecture. So it's not like it's unknown. Let me see what
Leo,
I
want to
what
go
the
back to
status
something
of
that
Transformer
you
is.
mentioned earlier. You said that you believe that Google has too much power, an ungodly amount of power, and I would agree with that. Google has become an incredibly powerful company, but the question is, what have they been doing with that power? And we are now discussing what they've been doing with that power. They have developed Chrome and Chromium into a wonderful product that other companies are using and developing into their own markets. They're developing LLMs, developing their own AI models. Android, exactly. So you have to take all of that together. You can't just say, they've got this monopoly, this functional monopoly in text search, and therefore the company needs to be broken up. Because without that power that they've built up, none of those other products would exist. Most of them are not profitable. They would have been shuttered. So the question again is, if you're looking at harm, this is actually reverse harm that Google has been promoting. Now, I'm not a Google fan, cheerleader. I'm not saying everything that they do is right, but at least from where I sit, they've been one of the most responsible companies with the power that they've amassed in the tech sector.
Good point.
Yeah.
It's hard. It's a hard issue because you've got to look at it 360. You're right.
But the same arguments could have been raised in 1986 when AT&T was being broken up.
True.
We get all the same benefits from scale from Google that we got from AT&T.
Or Unix.
Well, not just Unix. So we gave us a national infrastructure that was robust, reliable, very expensive because it was a monopoly, but we got some real benefits out of it. And so it's not enough to say, well, you get benefit out of Google, so don't break them up. You get benefit out of AT&T, but there was a case. There was I think obviously a strong case to be broken up. Now, ironically, they've kind of rehealed and
they're the T1000. They've reformed after being broken up.
Yeah. But I think
even then,
make the case that it did open up the market considerably. I mean, look at the cost of long distance today compared to 1982.
Yeah. But even back in the 80s, when that case was still ongoing, you could actually see in real time, not just in retrospect, the real harm that was occurring because of the Ma Bell monopoly. The fact that people didn't own the phones that were inside their own house and they couldn't actually work on them without it being illegal. They had to rent and lease their phones. And
Carter Phone overturned that though before the breakup. So
true. But
that's the point. Is did they need to be broken up? And I think it's really hard. It's the same thing with the Microsoft DOJ case in the late 90s, early 2000s. Was there a benefit or wasn't there? in both cases, it seems to me there was a benefit, but
yes,
I don't know. I'm not an economist, so
I think Jeff's right on this. We're going to know in 5 years whether or not it's
going to be a while.
Harms.
Yeah, it's going to be a while. It just in my heart, it always ends up coming down to emotions, not reason. But in my heart, I feel like Google wields too much power. That because Google search is so dominant and Chrome is so dominant, Chrome is basically going to put uBlock Origin out of business by changing to Manifest v3, and it's unknown how many Chromium adoptees will do the same, but I suspect most will. That changes the whole ad blocker business. They're basically defeating the best ad blockers. And is it ironic, or is it a smoking gun that they're in the ad business? You see the problem here? Yeah. I really do think that they're doing self-dealing. They're self-dealing. And that's not out of evilness, but just because if you're in the ad business, ad blockers are an existential threat. So you're going to make sure your products don't support ad blockers. You might make up some bogus excuse that it's for security reasons, but for whatever reason, you're going to do something that benefits your bottom line.
What's the paywall?
That's exactly what the monopoly is a problem.
You set the conditions of use. It's your right to do so. The New York Times puts up a paywall. You can't read it unless you pay. That's the deal. Google says, you want to see our stuff? Yeah, we're going to show you ads.
Yeah. Wouldn't be a problem if they weren't a monopoly.
But they're not a monopoly. That's the thing. And also, they're in the ad business. They're getting huge new competition from Amazon. Amazon's ad business is now bigger than all magazines in the world.
Well, if Google is not a monopoly in search and text search advertising,
but this
case will get thrown out.
Yeah, search is fairly meaningless in the larger picture. Advertising, there's issues.
You're saying it's going to be meaningless. It isn't yet meaningless. People, 90% still use Google to find something on the internet. Maybe in a year it'll
be there. Right. We have not only AI. We've done stories about how young people are not using Google; they're using TikTok. The trends are away from Google on search.
They're using Google.
I know.
There is a trend. And you're right that this stuff takes so long that by the time it's done, maybe it didn't make any difference in the long run.
I like your remedy. I like the idea of saying that Google has to share the scrape with others. Right. That's what started Common Crawl, is there was a Googler who left the company and said, oh, I don't have access to this anymore. What the hell? Right. He started the Common Crawl Foundation. And 10,000 academic papers are now based on it. And LLMs used it to train their models, which is some controversy on the other end. And that's why I held the event with them. I think making certain things that Google does free for others, that could be a very good model. It would enable competition. However, it makes then Google's crawl the only crawl.
Right. Well, but this is the needle that the judge has to thread, which is how do we find a remedy that does the least harm and the most good? And maybe the judge seems to be pretty on top of this. Let's see what he proposes as a remedy.
Every time you said the judge's name, I think it's Mark Zuckerberg running the case.
Meta. It's MEHTA.
Yeah.
Or else I'll say Meta.
Well, I mean, so if they're going to stick to the preferred strategy of the soft stick, they could reclassify Google's search division as common carrier. I mean, they can put this back into the net neutrality debate.
How would that work, Father?
So if you separate out their search, the crawl, and you say this is now considered to be a common carrier. This operates under the rules of a organization that is operating the lines and the backbones of telecommunications across the world. Okay. Then that changes how people can access it. It changes what expectations competitors have when they access that resource, and it also changes how much the parent company actually has control over how that service is used. It also indemnifies them from how that service is being used. So true, that is actually a way that Google could come out of this in a better state. Not saying that they wouldn't rather control the whole thing, but if their technology and their service is now seen as common carrier, it puts them in the position of being sort of the elder statesman of the search economy, no matter what happens from here on out.
Or is that a gift to every spammer on earth because Google can't control or has to be more open about how you can get access to everybody through search, and then search becomes completely useless.
And that's where the soft stick comes into play, because once you've reclassified them, it doesn't mean that you have to hold them. It just means that you have a bigger stick with which to beat them if they misbehave. So it would be perfectly okay for the FCC to say, okay, Google, we would like you to do something about X, Y, and Z, including scammers and spammers. Google does that. They integrate that into the cost of the common service, which then gets passed on to the other corporations that are using that common service. So,
which is interesting, but there's a First Amendment issue then.
Yeah, yes.
Yeah, you can't have the government be telling Google how to do its business. You'd have to make them into some sort of quasi public interest corporation as opposed to a private enterprise.
And imagine trying to do that not just in the U.S. then, but imagine how Europe would go bananas with that.
Oh, that's true.
I think it's very likely that this will not, in the long run, change anything. Yes?
Yeah.
Whether it should or not is another question. But I mean,
So
I think it should. You think it should?
Never mind.
But well, it's going to be years, and I think it's I'd be very shocked if any material change in how Google does business.
The stock market didn't. The stock market was reacting to everything else in the world, but I don't think it reacted to the case per se.
Yeah.
You know who this really hurts? Apple. I mean, they got paid $20 billion to put Google on their devices. I bet Apple wishes that Google had paid them $20 billion to not do Vision Pro. So, I mean,
Apple said in the trial it did not think it was worth the time and effort to try to build its search engine, unlike Maps. Remember, Apple did make a concerted effort to replace Google on the iPhone in almost every respect except search, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Even Google Chrome on the iPhone isn't really Chrome. It's WebKit. It's Apple Safari with a Chrome Surface.
What phone do you use, Padre?
I have a Pixel 8 Pro.
I'm sitting here with two Android users.
But so you've gone with La Vida Google when it comes to your phone.
So I spread it out. So my phone is Android. My laptop is Windows and Linux. My servers are Linux and Microsoft Server, and then a lot of my infrastructure stuff is Linux/Mac.
I got a question for you. I've been meaning to ask for a long time. Curious. Having just left a university, we had all kinds of university rules, and we had to go through all kinds of hoops to be able to use Google this versus not getting stuck with Microsoft Teams. There's all kinds of corporate stuff. What's the corporate IT, religion in the Vatican when it comes to what platforms you can use or what freedom you have to choose the ones you want to choose?
There's no freedom. You're using Windows.
Really?
Yeah.
Really?
Oh,
it's an enterprise.
Sorry.
Is
there a Curia for IT? I mean, is there?
We have our own. So we have our own IT shop, and it is all. We have Mac users, and they are told that they're switching over to Windows just because we want the enterprise management features. And no, we did not get hit by CrowdStrike because we looked at CrowdStrike several years ago, and we said, no way, no, absolutely no way.
Are you on a committee that decides all this?
I think that goes into the parts that I can't talk about. Okay. We can't talk about the inner workings.
Right. Sorry.
Now I'm really intrigued. Well, now I really want to know. No, that's interesting. It's funny. I've been working with Robert for 20 years or something, 15 years. I never thought to ask that. I didn't realize that. So there are.
It's an organization. It's an enterprise.
Yeah, it's like any enterprise.
No, not just any enterprise. Leo, the Catholic Church is the largest enterprise network on the planet.
What?
People forget that. We are the largest IT organization on the planet.
What?
By far. No one's even close.
What? How can that? Largest in terms geographically largest?
No. In terms of nodes, in terms of users, in terms of seats, in terms of services, in terms of expenses, we are the largest on the
bigger
planet.
Than the U.S. government. Bigger than
the U.S. government.
Do you get a discount?
Yes, you buy 3 million and get 1 free or something. I can't something like that.
I had no idea.
This is amazing.
And I am fascinated with how this is managed, because I have to say, I can't think of a breach of the Catholic Church's servers ever, right?
Well, that's because the really important stuff is on paper.
Oh,
with quills, Leo. With
that
quills.
will do it. That will do
Good
it.
luck. Good luck on breaching that.
No, it's very secure. I mean, I had never thought about that. I know that. Wow. Okay. We won't probe further, but we've suddenly opened an interesting can of worms there, Mr. Jarvis.
That's a great feature story.
I hadn't really thought about that.
If for the changing of Twit, we could start this week in the Vatican. I mean, that could be part of.
I will do that with you. I think it'd be fascinating. We get all the conspiracy theorists together. It'd be so much fun.
Pope Francis will be coming over to the house sometime in December. So, I mean, I don't know. Let's sit down.
I would very much like to be there by then. I plan to be doing the shows from the Vatican anytime soon.
I've got your room already set up, Leo. So you're all good.
Thank you.
Come on over.
Thank you. Just a simple bed, a crucifix, a little window. That's all I need.
Good internet access.
A prayer mat and of course fiber internet. Yeah.
Yeah.
By the way, how is the internet in the house there?
Leo, my office has two 10 gig fiber connections from two different carriers, by the way. So,
well, you are the largest.
You are the guy.
We just learned IT enterprise in the world. That's really true?
It's really true. It's actually.
Who would be bigger, Leo?
Well, it seems like lots of. Yeah.
No,
I don't know. Enron. I don't know. I don't know somebody.
The church is 2,000 years old, Leo.
I know it's 2,000 years old, but technology is only a decade old. Is that because every diocese has its own network and they're all internetworked? And
I mean, okay, so the society, the Jesuits, that's my order. We're just one out of many in the church. And just imagine, in just the United States, we've got 56 universities. We've got over 130 high schools. Right. We've got more than 70 retreat centers. We've got hundreds of parishes and schools. So that's just in the US. That's a massive IT infrastructure. Now multiply that by the world. That's us. That's what we do.
And this happened fairly quickly, right? I mean, this is all brand new, obviously.
So I wrote a paper back in 1996 on the integration of modern communications technology into church infrastructure. And it was about the changeover between what we saw as sort of frivolous, which would be IT, coming into the age of communications. And since then, in that 25, 30 years or so, the changeover has been almost complete. So yeah,
what a great history that would be to write.
Oh, no kidding. I don't know why I just assumed, well, the church is medieval and it doesn't deal with that. It deals with important issues of the soul, not gigabits and wow.
Well, we're working on backing up the soul. We're just having a storage problem. It's scaling. It's scaling.
I know. I mean, look, I know you very well, and I know how technically literate you are, but I didn't realize that the church would, of course, be equally wired.
That's just Leo,
can you say is there any AI research going on inside the church?
Okay, this is one of those things that probably has not reached your ears yet, but the Catholic Church is probably one of the most advanced organizations in terms of looking at the ramifications of AI. We actually have a division in the Vatican that does this. We have one of the preeminent experts is a Dominican priest. So yeah, we're in it.
Can we get that person on a show?
Yes, absolutely. I have his contact information. I think he just did a show for us for America, which is our magazine / online presence out of New York.
Fascinating. So Leo, you used to go to NAB, and NAB, as you know, had evangelical broadcasters.
Yeah,
sure.
Crazy.
Huge.
So would you say, in terms of you and you, Father, doing amazing video and broadcasting things from the Vatican, who led that? Who was ahead first?
Okay, so I did a few of NAB's events with that group. Nice people, but most of their focus was on what we would consider broadcast.
Yeah, TV,
radio, TV, right?
Yeah,
straight old TV. Okay.
Precisely. By the time they started really getting into that, we had already moved past that. We weren't looking at broadcast. We were looking at, well, how do we control the information that's flowing between our organizations? So broadcast, they have us beat, but that's just because we didn't really see the need to do that. We were doing that back in the 60s. By the time we hit the 90s and the 2000s, it was all about, okay, what's next? we're going past broadcast. We're going past teleevangelism. We're going past radio programs with religious themes. We now want to see what else is there, what more is there. And the Catholic Church was doing that back in the 90s.
Wow. And it's not, I mean, look at the Vatican's website is not the most
no
21st century thing I've ever seen.
It hasn't changed since the 90s, Leo.
It looks like it hasn't. But that's not really, so it sounds like your IT operation isn't necessarily about public facing stuff.
Correct. Anything I remember when I first got to Rome in 2018, there was a big story about how the Vatican servers had been breached. That really, I mean, yes, we talked about it. We remedied it. I gave a couple of tips on how we avoid things like this in the future. But when they heard breach, no one was concerned because the public facing internet, we don't really care about. Yeah, it's annoying to have to fix it, but that's not the data that we're actually working with.
Well, I'm just glad that the drop shadow lives on the Vatican website. That's all I can.
Actually, if you want, Leo, I can ask them to add the under construction GIF.
Would you please, in like an email box somewhere?
Because Earth is still under construction.
That's right.
Great.
That's right.
It is. It's true. It literally is. Wow. I don't know why I've never thought to ask you about this. Thank you, Jeff, for broaching the subject, because I had never thought to ask you about this, Robert. I had no idea.
Well, Jeff and I have never done a show together.
Yeah. I've been taking you for granted all
That's right. We were going to once, and then something happened. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So we've never been on the same show at the same time.
Well, good. And maybe you and Jason can get the AI guy on AI Inside, because I think that would be a fascinating.
Well, I think you've got to get a Security Now episode about the Vatican and security.
Amazing.
I see a whole
What
series.
I can do is I can ask him if he will come to our place and be in our studio, so his audio and video is taken care of and facilitate.
Make it easy for him.
That'd be great.
All right. Well, I do have to pause here. I wish I didn't. This is really interesting stuff.
Yeah.
Forget Google. I want to know more about the Vatican.
Hey, Leo, you thought Google was too powerful?
Wow.
Yeah, we actually had AI way back in the 50s. We just
I think so. Yeah.
That was the 1550s. Yeah.
That's right.
Wow. You're watching This Week in Google. Jeff Jarvis is here, and a special guest filling in for Paris Martineau this week, the wonderful Father Robert Ballecer.
So glad you're here.
The digital Jesuit, who has an app too, by the way. Now, is this the first app the church has done, or no?
No. Okay, again, that would be really hard. It's the first app that the Jesuits have done.
Okay.
And we predate the Vatican app, but I'm sure there's some other groups out there that have put out apps before.
Right. I mean, so what is the name of your app?
It's called the Jesuit Pilgrimage app. And it was okay. Let me cards on the table. It was created after a night of grappa. And some people said, hey, wouldn't it be cool if and it was sort of a bet, and we put it together, and there it is. It's a way for people to visit the sights and the sounds that Ignatius, who was our founder, went through as he founded the Society of Jesus. So you've got some 360 panoramas, you've got images of the different churches and locations that he went to, narrations, and I think we're up to 12 or 13 different languages of the story, and the ability to sort of follow you. So if you use this app in Rome, it would actually direct you from location to location to location, and then tell you, this is what's interesting about this.
Oh, I have to do that next time I'm in Rome.
And if you did download the app, one or two of the voices might sound familiar.
Nice.
So
that's super cool. That's super cool. Is this considered a skunkworks project in the church, or is this mainstream? I mean, is this more of, it feels more like it's a kind of like a skunkworks thing?
Yeah. So because it is such a large organization, the church proper, the Vatican City, moves at a predictable rate. Right?
Yes. Predictable rate. There you go.
We can move much more quickly, because we're a smaller organization within the organization, and we have people who are much more tech savvy. I mean, the Jesuits that I work with, we all grew up with technology, so we never have to explain what we're doing. We just do it.
Right. Very cool.
So I've got to tell you that I went to the Rare Book School at University of Virginia a few years ago. Guess who? And I learned how to set type by hand. All the good words. Guess who runs that? A Jesuit.
No kidding.
Of course.
Yeah.
No kidding.
Well, Jeff, if you like rare books, when you come to the Vatican and you stay at our house, the archives is attached to our house, and I can get you into the archives.
So, Jeff, let's both go visit. We'll both stay there. It'll be great fun.
Wow.
A little trip to the Vatican, to the Holy See. We're going to take a break, come back with more. There is a lot more to talk about. Not only is Google in court, X is in court as well. We'll have that story, as such as it is, in a bit. But first, a word from our sponsor, Experts Exchange. I bet, Robert, you remember going to Experts Exchange back in the day and getting answers to questions. I did. And when I met the guys at Experts Exchange, I said, where have you been? He said, we never left. Where have you been? I said, I guess, I got distracted by those other sites. But I have to say, for years, this was the place I would go to get good answers from real experts in the technology field. And it's better than ever. They're inviting you right now to rediscover, or if you've never been there before, to see for the first time, Experts Exchange, a network of trustworthy, talented tech professionals, a place you can get industry insights and advice from people who are actually using the products in your stack instead of paying for expensive enterprise-level tech support that often leaves a lot to be desired. Experts Exchange is the tech community for humans. People tired of the AI sellout. They say, we are ready to help carry the fight for the future of human intelligence. Yeah. And I'm talking professionals in every arena, 400 different fields. Coding, of course, Microsoft, Azure, AWS, DevOps, everything that you're dealing with today. And unlike other places, there's no snark here. Duplicate questions are welcome. There are no dumb questions. The answers are there for you. And this comes from, I think, a fundamental philosophy at Experts Exchange. Maybe something you will recognize if you're an expert in a field. They say the supreme reward for attaining expertise in any field is the fulfillment of passing your knowledge on to help someone in need. I love that philosophy. And the people who are there, this is food for them. This is why they do what they do. And they love being on Experts Exchange. It doesn't hurt that they also get points towards continuing education credits, things like that. But the real point is, when you ask a question at Experts Exchange, there are people who will leap in and give you that answer without the snark, without the, oh, that's a duplicate question, you should go here. It's great. It's refreshing. One member said, I never had ChatGPT stop and ask a question before. That happens on EE all the time. They're proudly committed to fostering a community where human collaboration is fundamental. Many of our own listeners are experts. There are people like Rodney Barnard, who's a VMware V expert and a Security Now listener. Edward Van Bilgen, who is a Microsoft MVP and an ethical hacker. There are Cisco design professionals there, executive IT directors, and more. Everyone from the IT professional on the ground to the CISO at the top in the C-suite can get answers to the questions they have without, embarrassment, without humiliation, without snark, just real good answers. And I got to emphasize this. Other platforms, you're reading it every day in the news, are betraying their contributors by selling that content to train AI models. At Experts Exchange, your privacy is not for sale. They stand against that betrayal of contributors worldwide. They have never and will never sell your data, your content, or your likeness. In fact, they block and strictly prohibit AI companies from scraping content on their site to train their LLMs. Their moderators strictly forbid the use of LLM content in their threads. This is a place for humans to help other humans and get that satisfaction of knowing they've done a good job. Experts deserve a place where they can confidently share their knowledge without worrying about some company stealing it to increase shareholder value. We all deserve a safe haven from AI and AI hallucinations. Join Experts Exchange today. Now, here's the deal. They know. People say, oh, I don't know. I remember Expert. What about, I think about, it's free for the first 90 days and you don't even need to give them a credit card. So there's no reason not to try it. Ask them your toughest questions. Get support and stuff that you really need help with. Experts Exchange, 90 days, 3 months free, no credit card required. Visit e-e.com/twit. In a way that tells you that they've been around for a while. They've got one of those 3-letter.com addresses you can't find for love or money. e-e.com/twit. Experts Exchange. Thank you, Experts Exchange. It's good to have you on the show. I, for years, used them on the Tech Guy to get answers to questions I needed to answer myself. Experts Exchange.
Can I ask Robert one more question on the Vatican and AI?
Yeah, please. This is fascinating.
What was the reaction to the wonderful photo of the Holy Father in the puffy white coat?
The Balenciaga jacket.
Yeah. Okay. Again, to not get in trouble, I will just say that there's a person who I spoke with specifically about that, and he laughed. He thought it was funny.
Oh, did he laugh in Italian or Spanish? That's the question.
Don't put him on the spot.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
It is.
You get the feeling, and maybe it's because I know you so well, Robert, but you get the feeling that there's intelligence, there's goodwill, there's good things happening in an ancient church, and that's very encouraging. I have to say.
I don't want to get political, but I just want to say, my views are pretty obvious.
Yeah.
But the joy I'm seeing right now in American politics, and the joy that I hear from the Vatican, we just need more of that kind of joy in the world.
We do. It's a little grim. It's a little grim out there. Yeah.
We actually have a name for it. We call it Aggiornamento. This is the same thing that happened at the start of Vatican II, where the Holy Father said, "Look, open the doors, open the windows. Yeah. It's time to air it out. It's time for us to actually look at what it is that we want. Let's not snipe about the issues of the past. Let's look to the potential of the future." Yeah. So anyone who does that, I'm on board. We need that right now. We're so beaten up.
Aggiornamento should be the title of the show. It means bringing it up to date. It means updating. It means being open to the future. AGG, like buongiorno. AGGIORNAMENT.
I would have gotten that so wrong.
Yeah. Today, aggiornamento, updated. Yeah.
But remember, you have to say it with your hands.
Aggiornamento, All right, moving right along. So you may remember almost a year ago, Elon Musk telling advertisers to go F themselves. Go F yourselves, he said. Now he's saying, hey, they did. We're going to sue them.
Well put. Well done.
How dare they? X has decided, and it's an interesting case, that that the advertisers colluded using an advertising group called GARM not to advertise on X. And X has gone to looks like a friendly judge in North Texas suing over the boycott. He says there's an advertiser boycott. It's collusion. And they filed in federal court against the World Federation of Advertisers and member companies, some big ones, Unilever, Mars, CVS, and Orsted, which I think is British.
So they're going to be forced to advertise on X. Yeah, that's going to work well.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, GARM, which is the Global Alliance for Responsible Media, is a brand safety organization. And I understand advertisers don't want to put their ads next to content. There are clauses in every contract we do with advertisers saying, you're not going to put us next to content that's hate speech or violent or sexual or things like that. We don't have a problem with that because we don't have any of that on our network. There's plenty of that on X, however. And GARM apparently advised its member groups not to advertise there because it's unsafe. They helped coordinate a pause in advertising after Elon bought what was then Twitter in late 2022. Elon says, now it's war.
Jesus, what a jerk.
Various experts, most experts I've read say, yeah, there's no merit here, but there are a few people point out that collusion is illegal. You can't collude. Companies that normally compete with each other can't get together and decide on what prices should be. That's an antitrust violation. X says this is a antitrust matter. They've colluded against us.
Here's the paradox, though, is that I'm reading in Adweek that because of this, ad buyers are now more cautious than ever to get anywhere near X. So he's going to lose yet more advertising because of this.
Yeah.
And God bless.
But I mean, he's basically cornered the market on advertising dropship products from China. So, I mean, I think it's a win-win.
Linda Yaccarino, the CEO of X, alleged in an open letter yesterday to advertisers, hey, advertisers, GARM's behavior is a stain on a great industry and cannot be allowed to continue. I mean, on the face of it, you feel like, well, an advertiser has the right not to advertise on a platform if they feel like it's not a good place for them to be. CBS can't say, you have to buy NASCAR. You have to. If an advertiser doesn't want to, they don't have to. So there's no merit in that. There's perhaps some merit in the notion that there was collusion.
Actually, Leo, tech advertisers, you have to buy ads on Twitch.
You must buy ads on Twitch. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, when I saw the open letter, and then when I watched Yaccarino do her thing on Twitter, I kept waiting. I'm like, okay, so what's the knife here? What do you have? What do you have that proves that there was collusion or coercion that would be illegal? And they just keep dancing around that. They just say, well, these companies, they got together and they decided not to do business with us. And I'm thinking, okay, I mean, yeah, you could make that case, but that's not illegal. Nothing that you're alleging is illegal, which is weird that they would actually file a lawsuit over something that is so laughable. It makes me think that they actually have something they're just not showing us.
That's what Elon does. He sued the Center for Countering Digital Hate, and the judge threw it out. He has sued Media Matters for defamation after they released a report that says X has misrepresented the amount of hate speech users encounter on the platform. That lawsuit is still scheduled for trial, but I can't imagine the trial will go on for very long. It's thought the judge might throw this out, except that they've drawn a judge who is in fact a Tesla investor. So maybe not.
What?
I mean, if he's a Tesla investor, he may not be friendly to Elon right now. Let's
that's a good point.
That. Yeah.
That's a good point. That's of course why they
the end game here.
Filed in
Texas. I don't see what the strategy is. It's not like he's fundraising off of the rage. He's just generating rage for rage's sake.
He has a spleen. He doesn't have a strategy.
That's true.
Yeah, it's just these billionaires. Nobody says no to them, and they just they seem to act on grievance more than anything else. So we'll see what happens here. There is perhaps some merit to it. I don't know, and it may be that they get the judge will be friendly to Elon because of his financial interests. I don't know.
Well, at this point,
the only thing that would make the case is if they found communications between Unilever and a client saying, if you continue to advertise on Twitter, on X, we're going to drop you here, here, and here.
Yeah, there you go.
I mean, that would be that's actionable. Yeah. But they're not alleging that. They're just saying, no, they talked. Okay.
It's also said that it is, if they did go to trial, that the video of Elon saying F off to advertisers might show up, which I would imagine be persuasive to a jury if there is a jury in this. So we shall see. The company expects to earn $2 billion in advertising revenue this year. That's less than half of what it earned in 2021. So it's definitely hurting. Not that Elon can't afford it, but
just Elon's not paying for it out of pocket. So he's taking the.
That's true. That's the banks. These poor banks. Yeah.
Right. So at this rate, by 2029, the service on the debt will be more than the total revenue of Twitter, of X.
Wow.
So
which is why I was thinking this just the other day. It's time to restart rumors that somebody wants to buy Twitter.
Yeah.
Because he's obviously losing money on it.
But who would buy it? By the way, also joining him in this lawsuit, the far right video competitor to YouTube, Rumble.
Rumble is going to buy Twitter.
Which is, by the way, also not getting a whole lot of advertising right now. for obvious reasons. You can't blame Mars for not advertising on X. Even if Elon wants to live on Mars.
Yeah.
Pardon me?
Who wants to advertise in a place that's going to poison your brand?
That's right.
That's not what advertising is. Right now, Elon seems to be stuck in this idea that you spend your money to make ideological statements. And advertisers don't care about ideological statements.
Right.
They care about the brand. So they're playing two different games.
Shortly after the show last week, we found out Don Lemon is suing Elon. Now, I don't know if Don's going to have much of a case here.
No.
You may remember Don Lemon is the CNN anchor who made a deal with X to host all of his videos. They were going to pay $1.5 million a year to produce videos, for Lemon to produce videos exclusively on X, and also give him a share of the ad revenue. Elon agreed to be Don Lemon's first guest on the show, but the interview collapsed as Lemon asked him about his drug use and politics. Shortly thereafter, Elon texted him saying, "There's no deal." Lemon says, "I didn't sign a contract.
Oops.
Mr. Musk told me during a phone call there was no need to, quote, fill out paperwork."
Oops.
Reassured Don Lemon that X would financially support the show, even if we don't like the views you espouse. But without the contract, he's going to have a problem.
Agreement is a contract, so maybe.
Yeah, but if it's purely verbal, it might be hard to prove it, right?
Yeah. I mean, I just want to know, what did Don Lemon see in Elon and made him think, no, I don't need a written contract.
You don't need paper. Wow. Apparently, in the lawsuit, Lemon says he was pressured to announce the deal and go to an event with Linda Yaccarino at CES. X told him the deal would be withdrawn if he didn't attend. That should be the first warning, Don.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
this was all in an attempt for X to get content to stream. We are, by the way, now streaming on X. How do we feel about that? Are we okay with that? We have, let me see, right now, 290 people watching us on X.com. Yeah, that's what I think.
It costs them more money to stream.
Oh, that's right. We're hurting them.
So I'm okay with that.
Yeah, good point.
We're doing this to hurt you. No. We are, one of the things we're doing now as part of, we lose the studio, but we gain 7 new streams. I remember when we first started streaming, it was hard to find somebody who would stream for free. We had BitGravity at first, and IBM bought them. They started to charge. Remember
Justin,
that?
We had Justin.
And then there was Ustream. There had Justin, which became Twitch. Right now, we are on Discord for our club members. We're on X. We're on YouTube. We're on twitch.tv/twit. We're on Facebook. We're on LinkedIn. And we're on Kick. That's 7 different places you can watch us stream our shows live. I think that's cool. I had some misgivings about X. I'm not a huge fan, but you want to be where your viewers are, whatever's convenient for them, right? And because not a lot of people are streaming content, we're almost always featured on the front page of X. So that's good. I don't have a deal with Don Lemon or with Elon, so I guess we just move on. Let's see. Are you willing to pay $42.99 a month to watch sports? Disney, Fox, and Warner Brothers Discovery's sports streamer Venu, Venu, no E, will be launching soon at $43 a month, right around the NFL season, which is a month away.
It's a lot of money. I wonder what is Ant still there?
Ant loved the idea.
Oh,
I think Ant loved the idea. We talked about it on yesterday on MacBreak Weekly.
On MacBreak.
Yeah, and Jason Snell. People. What it is people who really want to watch a lot of sports, I guess, and it's sports in lieu of anything else, like full-time sports, all the time sports. It does seem expensive, but
I mean, I like sports. I'm not gonna pay a monthly subscription just to watch sports. Maybe that'd be different if I'm still into the NFL and I couldn't get that in Italy. I don't know.
Would the Holy Father pay $43 a month for the Premier League?
I would not, because we get that in Italy for free. So,
okay. Just
actually, one of the things I love about sports in Italy is I can always find a channel that is just broadcasting the sport. There's no commentary. There's nothing.
That's a good thing.
Love that. That is fantastic.
I like that. By the way, there are 462 people watching us on YouTube. I think YouTube's probably the largest.
Are you getting that number from YouTube or from
YouTube? From YouTube.
Is that what it say? Views?
Well, somebody said
we should be dubious
of the X number, because he thinks everybody who is tuned in ever to the stream.
I think anybody who passes by the stream on their feed,
even if
like the pivot to video on Facebook, that thing.
YouTube goes up and down, so I have a feeling it's an actual
that's more legit.
count. It says 454 people are watching now on YouTube. So that's pretty good. That's a larger number than we normally get. So I'm very, very pleased.
Actually, Leo, you need to add your content to Disney, because they just became profitable.
Did they really?
They did.
Disney Plus is making money, huh?
It's now making money.
That's one of the few. I mean, you got Netflix and everybody else. So good. I think that's great. Hey, speaking of X, did you see that our good friend Mike Masnick is joining the Bluesky board?
So great all around.
All right.
Bluesky, I think, if anything is poised to replace Twitter, it might be Bluesky.
I like it. The problem is journalists are on Threads. I wish they would come over to Bluesky. Bluesky's great.
The Threads, unfortunately, is owned by Meta. Bluesky is not. Bluesky was the Blue Sky research project funded by Jack Dorsey when he was running Twitter to create a federated social network. And I think a lot of the features of Bluesky work very well. The lists seem very popular. A lot of good people on there.
When I eventually give up on Twitter, I am going to go over to Bluesky. So I have Mastodon is sort of that's my Twit. That's my Twit army account. But yeah, Twitter is becoming less and less useful. I'm almost at that point where the negatives outweigh the positives.
Yeah, I love Mastodon, but you're right. There's not the massive traffic, the number of people that we were used to. But there's nothing like Twitter anymore, unfortunately. That's the unfortunate thing.
I'm on all of them.
Where do you get the most engagement?
It varies, Leo. It's really interesting, and there's no pattern I can find. Oh, tech stories are more here, more there. It's just something catches on. Time of the day. I get up in the morning. The first thing I do is read through the newspapers, and I text stuff, put it on, just copy it and put it on all four. And it varies across the map. The thing I've found about Mastodon is because there's no retweeting, you only have immediate discussion or none. It'll go away immediately. Whereas on the others, you can see some residual because it'll come back up in somebody's conversation later and it'll get recommended to somebody.
Yeah,
so
right now,
virality to Twitter that doesn't exist elsewhere.
I still get decent engagement on Twitter. A couple of thousand is like the starting point. But anytime I tweet politics, which I do because now that I'm in the Vatican, now that I'm in Rome, I don't worry about the blowback. But like the last couple I did were up in the millions, tens of millions.
Wow.
And you're right. I'm still getting retweets from political posts I put up a month ago.
Wow.
And it feeds on itself. And unfortunately, that does not yet exist on any of the other platforms I'm exploring.
Yes. The other thing, Father, is that the thing that and I've said this in the show before, but there's communities. It's easy for me as an individual to move somewhere else. It's not easy to move a community. And I held a Black Twitter Summit earlier this year. And I really saw that lesson then, is that something has been built there by a community. And you can't just replicate that.
Yep.
And the other platforms were not terribly hospitable to that community. And I also know that some of the people who I care about a lot in Black Twitter, starting with Andre Brock Jr., who wrote the book on Black Twitter, Distributed Blackness, he said, why do we have to give it up? it's white flight is going on, and communities that don't have another place to go are still there. So I think that matters, and I think there's an argument too that says we got to fight for that turf until the end.
Yeah, no,
it's hard to fight though when the owner of the turf is a turf.
Yeah, I agree. But
I've gotten extremely liberal with the block. I have my community. I have the people that I am engaging with, and if someone's going to come in and try to start a war, no, immediately block, done. I didn't used to do that, but that's the reality of Twitter now.
It's the only way.
Yeah, and I have to admit, I guess because of who I'm following and so forth, I don't see a lot of the bad crap that everybody else complains about on Twitter. So I don't know. It's more about the owner than it is about actually the content on there. However, I'm glad to see Masnick is going to be joining the Bluesky board. As you remember, Mike is the guy who wrote a open letter to Elon Musk when he took over Twitter about speed running the moderation curve. And unfortunately, I guess Elon didn't read it because he literally followed every single step in the moderation curve that Mike was warning him about.
Mike's brilliant at this. There's nobody better at understanding the limitations of moderation and what the issues are, and nobody more honest about how corporations should act. And so it's an act of generosity and responsibility to the social web. So thank you, Mike.
He also wrote the paper that might have inspired Bluesky, right? Yep. Protocols, not platforms.
Yep.
And the Knight First Amendment Institute at Columbia published it. And
he said that Jack says that he was inspired by it. Yes.
Yeah. Anecdotally, at least Jack's inspiration for Bluesky was that paper. So it's great that he's there. And if anybody does things to make Bluesky a better place, it will be Mike Masnick. So
it's Mike Masnick, yes.
Yeah. Congratulations, Mike.
I
asked Benito to get him on.
Swag. Think of your friends here.
We'll get Mike on as soon as we can. He's now even more busy than ever.
Yeah, that's the thing. He is the world's busiest.
Yeah. You're watching This Week in Google. Paris has the week off. I hope she'll be back next week. She's on assignment in Washington, D.C., but Jeff Jarvis is here. And filling in for Paris, the wonderful Father Robert Ballaser, the digital Jesuit. And it is our officially last show. You know, it's funny. The first show in a new studio is always a big deal.
Leo, you're going to scare people. It's the last show.
In this studio.
In the studio.
Father Robert was here for the very first show in this studio. Did you ride the trolley over and everything?
I did. I have the video of me riding the trolley over.
Yeah. So we make a big deal when we open a new studio. You know, we had a ribbon cutting. In fact, I just saw in the lobby the giant scissors that we bought, which were never used again. I don't know. Should we do that for the attic? Open the attic studio with the giant scissors?
You were the cat.
We rented them when we opened the brick house. We rented giant scissors. And when we moved here, we thought, well, I guess if we keep using them, we ought to buy a pair. Everybody should have a pair of giant scissors.
Where does that happen?
I don't know. The giant scissors store. Where else? I don't know. I don't know where we got them, but we have them.
Somebody has a warehouse sitting there saying, I don't know why people aren't coming and renting my scissors very often.
Well, and as you pointed out, Robert, when you have a lot of space, you accumulate weird stuff, and there's so much.
Especially,
and I feel weird just walking away from it too. That's the other thing. It's a little disconcerting. This is all stuff we bought.
Although, Leo, it can't be worse than what was down in the no hole when you were still doing the GizWiz. Because you had such strange gadgets down there where you're looking at it going, what even was this? You had some sort of scooter that you would have to lean back and forth. I think Burke almost killed himself twice trying that thing.
When we first moved into the brick house, the basement was empty. As you said, the ceiling was too low for code, so they couldn't rent it. But we had it. We had access to it. It was completely empty. So we used to do races of all kinds around the basement. As long as you didn't run into one of the pillars or hit your head on the low ceiling, you were good. That was a lot of fun.
It was.
So we always have a celebration moving in, but usually the celebration moving in goes along with the celebration of moving out. But this time it's no transition like that. We're just gonna kind of walk away. Are the giant scissors gone? Somebody took them.
So The vultures, Leo. The vultures.
Somebody already took the giant.
I don't know. There's a problem here. The sword and the scissors are gone.
The sword and the scissors are gone, but this massive, giant wire. What do we have this for?
I saw Burke use that to open a lunch once. So
it's a bolt cutter.
Yeah.
I don't know why we need this 28-pound bolt cutter, but we got one. But
Leo,
crazy.
This is what you've done. I mean, when you went from G4, Tech TV, when it was still good, when you went and then you started doing podcasting, you started doing Twit, back when, what was it? Cranky? No, before it was called Twit, you had a name
the Revenge of the Screensavers.
That's right.
Which we were told we couldn't use by the owners. Comcast said,
you transformed the industry. You went from needing millions of dollars of studio work and a ridiculously large crew to doing something efficiently and small. And then you changed that again when you moved into the East Side Studios. Now you're changing it again. You're just, I guess, this is normal.
Thank you. Thank you, Robert. Now we know why you're such a useful counselor for those in grief. I appreciate it. Thank you. Anyway, our last time in this beautiful East Side studio, which we've been in for 8 years, we still have 2 more years lease, but I think we were going to try to get out of the lease. If not, at least we don't have to pay for the power and the insurance and all that stuff, so it should save some money. So we're doing that to save money. That's why we're doing it. All right, I wanted to ask the journalists, and since Paris isn't here, that means you, Jeff, about this article in the New York Intelligencer. Everybody is mad at Bloomberg because it broke its embargo. You remember in the prisoner swap, there were briefings for the press, but they were told in the briefings, until the prisoners are out of Russia and in American hands, please say nothing about this.
I was shocked when this occurred because it was obvious that the I don't know what time that Bloomberg broke this.
7:41 a.m. that morning.
And it wasn't until after 11 a.m. that the Wall Street Journal, and it's their guy who came on with it, and I was absolutely shocked.
By the way, the Journal actually had reporters on the tarmac saying they held it until the reporters on the tarmac said, okay, they're on American soil, go.
They were from a distance. They couldn't even be there at the tarmac.
They wanted to make sure that the prisoners were effectively swapped and were no longer in Russian hands before they published this.
Important.
Bloomberg, for some reason, did not. And not only that, but a Bloomberg editor 10 minutes later posted on X, "It's one of the greatest honors of my career to have helped break this news. I love my job and my colleagues."
So 2 things about this. One, it was not News Corp's embargo. It was the White House's embargo.
Yes.
It was the federal government's embargo. They're the ones who were getting people out. Joe Biden was doing this with Olaf Scholz. And it was their story and their concern, and they made this very clear. So then the day went by, and then Bloomberg properly, John Micklethwaite, who's now the editor at Bloomberg, formerly of The Economist, did it as he should have, an immediate investigation. The main report, the byline reporter, was fired. She then wrote back a response saying, but I worked with the editor and I didn't do this. And a lot of people came to her defense. Oh, no. And I think that she was wrong. She knew the conditions of it. She, in her non-mea culpa, she said, I didn't break the embargo. We worked very carefully on this. But she's not the only one. The editor who was involved, the 2 of them should go. This is wrong. And they put people's lives at risk. They put the whole deal at risk for their own ego of a scoop. Scoops are of no value in this world. They last with the speed of a click. I was appalled at Bloomberg. It was so wrong. Since you asked.
And honestly, I think Jennifer Jacobs, who's the reporter, one of the 2 reporters who was, of course, the Intelligencer says left Bloomberg, but you say she was fired. It sounds like she might have been scapegoated. She said she had worked hand in hand with her editors to adhere to editorial standards and guidelines. At no time did I do anything that was knowingly inconsistent with the administration's embargo, or that would put anyone involved at risk. She said reporters don't have the final say over when a story is published or with what headline.
She's not taking responsibility. I think it's all the more proper that she's gone because she didn't take responsibility there.
But what if she wrote the story thinking it would be held until 11 a.m.?
And say so, but she said she worked with the editors, which is to say that she knew what the editors were doing. And and she knew the conditions of the embargo. And then the editor who went and bragged about it, I think it's right to the extent that
he was
person
demoted.
Should also go.
He was demoted, but not fired. Yeah.
She paid a worse price than he did. And that's
I worry that, and I hope that they do a real investigation. I worry that she was scapegoated, that she wrote the story, but she didn't release it. There's somebody higher up who says, okay, publish it, right? The reporter
we need to know who knew that there was an embargo, who knew the conditions, what was their process for doing that. Clearly it's sensitive. Clearly. And Bloomberg has had people who've been in this jeopardy before. Every news organization, international news organization has.
Yeah.
And it's not about the public's right to know. There was no right to know in this case because the story wasn't the story until they were safely in America.
That's right. That's right. I don't think there's anybody in the public who thinks it's a good idea to get that story out before they're safe.
No.
That jeopardizes the whole thing.
No. Yeah. I want to ask, I mean, having covered stories like this before, what's going to be the blowback for Bloomberg? Do they not get invited to the next big brouhaha that the White House throws, or do they go on the naughty list?
I think there's a good chance they will, yeah. I think that's part of the reason they had this investigation, to say, we know we screwed up, we did wrong. Biggleswade is writing letters to every one of the hostages personally, apologizing.
Good. I worry that Bloomberg, there's something going on at Bloomberg. Remember, they had that scoop on the super micro motherboard that never was corroborated, that it had been somewhere along the supply chain, introduced spy hardware had been introduced into it. And it was never corroborated. Remember this, Robert? I know you do.
Yeah. Yep.
And they never apologized. They stood by it. I worry that the editorial standards of Bloomberg are, I don't know, non-existent, slipping. I worry.
I don't know if 2 stories is a trend or not.
I use them a lot. That's when I pay a lot of money to use them. But all right.
You don't do a terminal.
No. But it's still, it's hundreds of dollars.
It is.
You access it. Speaking of news, Canadian news engagement is down significantly 1 year after Meta's ban. Remember, Meta decided they weren't going to publish news anymore after they were told, well, if you do, you got to, share some revenue with news organizations. Well, it turns out that Canadians' total engagement with news content on social media has been reduced by 43%. And local news outlets, many of which rely on Facebook, have especially been hit hard. 30% of them are now inactive on social media.
And the other issue here, a guy who runs one company that's very successful there, local news, he said it's going to be a lot harder to start a new brand.
Right.
Because how do you find people? You find it on social.
Mm-hmm. Apparently, only 22% of Canadians even know that there's a ban in place. However, Canadians are seeing less news online, 11 million fewer daily views on Facebook and Instagram. So I'm not sure.
I'm organizing an update for independent media next month to do an update on the legislation that's occurred across the U.S. And I'm also going to, I hope, have updates on the aftermath of this in Canada and Australia.
Where do we stand in California? I know you came to Sacramento to testify against.
There are 2 bills. One passed the Assembly, the other passed the Senate. Each is sitting in the quiet of the summer recess. Google has an offer on the table for $30 million and the promise to try to get other tech companies involved and unused tax credits. And so now there's negotiation going on, I hope, in ways that I don't
know. You're watching This Week in Google. Jeff Jarvis, Father Robert Ballecer in a rare appearance. It's great to have you. Jeff is in beautiful Philadelphia today. The seat, the heart, the birthplace of America.
At the lovely Notary Hotel.
Nice. Well, thank you for doing this.
Oh, that's nice.
Oh, yeah.
You know the hotel.
Nice.
Oh, wow.
I do know the hotel.
Google had an ad. Maybe you saw it. The ad's title was Dear Sydney, in which a father, a loving, doting father, notices that his daughter is a big fan of Olympic track star Sydney McLaughlin-Leveroni. Instead of encouraging her to write to Sydney with a real letter, he delegates Gemini to write the letter for her. The ad got airplay during NBC's coverage of the Olympics this week. You might have seen it, as well as on CNBC and USA. Google has got a lot of heat for this and has now pulled the ad from the networks. It was an ad produced in-house. Dear Gemini, help my daughter write a letter.
All right, so I've got another Vatican question for Father Robert. In my world, in journalism, and my other world of education, obviously there's a lot of talk about using LLMs.
Yes.
And the fear that it'll be used for stories when it shouldn't, and so on and so forth, right? And students and all this. Has there been guidance to clergy on the use of LLMs for homilies and such?
Oh,
yes. Actually, and this is one of those instances where it fits right into the old guidelines. So the old guidelines is priests have always had what we call homily helps, which have been previous homilies that have done really well, that have followed certain themes that we might want to explore. So the use of an LLM is basically just another homily help. So it should never be just that. If you can't just take a homily help and give it as if it's your own. Same thing, you cannot take something that a LLM has created and use it as your own. It should be something that you use to get ideas that you develop into a homily.
Do you have a jingle like homily? Helper helps your homily make a great meal. Anything like that? Because I feel like you ought to. You're missing. I
think I want a partnership with Google where I write a rousing homily about the arrival of aliens on Earth, and I turn to their LLM to capture the moment, the spiritual impact. But
you're absolutely right. I was an advisor for a while to the Christian Century magazine. And one of the most popular features in it is the lectionary help. I had a minister once who never wanted, when the web came along, never wanted to put his sermons online, saying that he was afraid people would steal them. And then I thought about it and I thought, maybe that's what he's doing. He doesn't want to be exposed.
Oh, wow.
So here's the problem. I have conservatively given maybe 30,000 homilies over the course of my life. Yeah, it's multiple times.
So every time you conduct a mass, do you have to do a homily? Is it part of the mass?
In our community, when it's just us, we do not. For a weekday mass, we do. Okay. But every other time, there's absolutely a homily. And
you've done that many.
I've done so many. But the problem is
you run out after a while.
The common wisdom is a priest has maybe 4 homilies and then variations
over and over and over. That's true of everybody. I only have one show that I've ever done. It's this show. It's always the same show. That's normal. That's human. People don't have that,
And I only have one funeral homily. I really do. There's only so many ways you can do that.
Yeah. So my sister does a prayer for a funeral where she gets the details of someone's life from their family, and it's brilliant, and it's tears every time. She's a minister. She's a Presbyterian minister, and you fit it into what works.
Absolutely.
So that's in movies. You always see that. I didn't know Jeff, but those who did tell me he was a wonderful man. That kind of thing.
I did the Futurama version. The Futurama version is I didn't know Jeff, but I feel completely comfortable speaking to his closest friends and family about the most intimate details of his life.
So what is tell me your funeral homily secrets, Father.
Okay, so the funeral homily secrets actually starts way before the homily actually starts. You need to look at the people who are showing up to the funeral and identify, are we going to have a problem here? Is there anyone arriving angry? Is there anyone who's arriving that looks like they need to speak or is overly distraught? Because you actually do have to change the homily based on whether or not it's going to trigger somebody.
It's a very emotional time,
Really
but it's interesting. Yeah. It's not just sadness. The emotions can be very wide-ranging.
The very first homily I ever gave was for a funeral. Was a funeral. It was a very rapid one. It had to happen really quickly. It was down near Milpitas, and we show up. Everyone is just solemn. I don't know any of the details. I was not given a sheet on the deceased.
Wow.
And so I'm doing a generic homily, and in the middle of it, the brother stands up, and I'm thinking, okay, he wants to say a few things about his brother, and he says, my brother died of AIDS. He's going to hell. I'm like, oh, okay.
Yeah. Timber.
Yeah.
So how do you respond to that?
Well, then I turned on my LLM, and it gave me a rousing homily.
What did the AI say? That's a tough one because, you've got to serve everybody involved.
Yep.
And there's a lot of upset there. Wow.
I went to a funeral once where the kids did not realize that they saw somebody sign in to the sheet with their last name. And they said, well, who's this? Oh, I was your father's first wife. What? Those kinds of things come out all the time at funerals.
I can beat that.
Okay.
Blessed Sacrament in Los Angeles. So not me, but another one of my Jesuit brothers, very first funeral he's ever done. And if you've ever been to Blessed Sacrament in Hollywood, it's a very interesting place, filled with very interesting people. But he gets there, he's in the sacristy, he's preparing, he's vesting up, and someone comes in and says, Father, I have to tell you something. You should know this before we start the mass. Half of the people in the congregation knew the deceased as Jeff, and the other half knew him as Letitia.
Oh,
wow.
And so he gets out, and it's like down the middle, black suits, white shirts, and fabulous dress.
Colorful. Yeah.
And that was his very first one as a priest, his very first funeral.
How did he handle
it? When no one knows, this will go down in history.
Yeah.
Wow. That's amazing. Cool. But did you see, by the way, we were talking about X. I forgot to mention Elon's moving out of San Francisco.
That's right.
The old Twitter building that was there forever. He kind of tore off parts of the sign bit by bit, turned Twitter into something else by taking out the W, then put a giant X on the roof to the complaints of neighbors, and ultimately the city made him take it down.
Is he going to pay the rent before he leaves?
I don't even know. Has he paid the rent? I don't know.
He was in trouble for not paying it for some time.
Yeah, for a long time.
He evidently said they don't care because it was already all but abandoned. They shrugged.
Is he going to leave the sink there that he brought in on his first day? No one knows.
Remember, he did the auction. He sold off tons of stuff. Big old
I know. I wanted to buy some stuff.
I actually thought about going there because there were some like bread makers. There were some really interesting,
nice stuff.
Kitchen utensils. Yeah,
there was
coffee machines. So Elon was taking a little victory lap just the other day, as he does, saying everybody thought Twitter was going to fall apart. It was going to be gone by now. Are we gone? No, we're doing better than ever. I think he was making fun of the Guardian for saying, oh, it's going to be bad news for Twitter. I mean, to his credit, it's still running. It works. It's actually working just fine.
Yeah. I was among those who thought it was going to just
I did too.
Nobody was running it.
I thought if you fire half the team, can it survive? And maybe he was right. Maybe that half wasn't doing much. I don't know.
Well, except that half was dealing with safety issues and sales. But other than that.
Yeah. They shut down servers. He said, what does this do? We don't need it. Took it off and caused problems, but he survived. So, anyway, they're moving not out of California, even though he announced that he was going to move out of California because, I don't know, he was upset about something.
Taxes. No, it was woke.
No, it was because the schools, there was a rule in schools that the teachers did not have to tell parents if their child decided to use a different pronoun.
It was because of his terrible behavior.
And he didn't like that, because he has a transgender. Is his child transgender or just questioning. I don't know. But anyway,
I think trans.
Non-binary.
Yeah, she's transitioned.
She's trans. Yeah. So, he doesn't like that. He disowned the person. And now he's leaving California, except he's not. He's moving the whole Twitter operation to San Jose. So I guess they've got a building down there.
I mean, Apple did that too. Apple and Cisco. There's a big group down there. It's still considered the Silicon Valley.
It's still there. Yes, absolutely. It is. It's more Silicon Valley than San Francisco.
And I love San Francisco. I lived in San Francisco for many, many years, but it is a mess right now. It is an absolute mess. I'll admit that. So
it's a victim of the fentanyl crisis. That is very clear. It's unfortunate.
I was just down there last year in Soma, and I just walking 3 blocks down to the Metreon Theater.
Oh, that's a bad area.
At least a dozen people who were like in the middle of a fentanyl hit. And it's
really sad. Yeah. It's a really terrible
COVID and downtown. I mean, the thing about cities that don't have mixed use areas, the business areas are falling apart. Midtown Manhattan, a lot of it's sad.
Yeah. Get ready, because if you use Google Assistant, Gemini intelligence is coming to you. A major upgrade to Nest smart speakers and displays, Nest cameras, a powerful AI infusion. This is Jennifer Patterson-Toohey writing for The Verge. Of course, she's a regular with Micah on Tech News Weekly. While splashy chatbots may get all the attention, generative AI has the potential to make the smart home simpler and more accessible. Amazon, we already have talked about this, is going to offer, it looks like an upsell to Amazon's Echo to make it smarter. Now, Google is promising that, and by the way, we're going to be doing the fall hardware event. When is it, Wednesday or Tuesday morning, right? Jeff, you're going to join me 10 a.m. Pacific, 1 p.m. Eastern. So we thought it might just be the Pixel 9, but I think maybe there's going to be a lot more to announce, including updates to the Google Home stuff, the Nest stuff.
Well, and the Chromecast.
And that new Chromecast, we'll talk about that in a second too, yeah.
Can I dream that there might be a new Chromebook from Google since mine sucks?
No, there will never be a new Chromebook from Google.
I don't think so. I think they're done.
No, they're done. I can almost promise
they just wanted to prime the market, and the market is plenty primed.
Yeah.
So
yeah, they don't need it. Yeah. What are you using the Acer now?
No, I got rid of it. I'm using the red Samsung, which I know is a little bit old. Did I freeze here?
Yeah, your Samsung decided it wasn't going to let you say whatever that was you wanted to say.
The fan never shuts up.
Oh, I hate that.
That's probably why you're freezing too. Yeah. So Google Home will now have a camera intelligence feature that will generate descriptive captions for video footage from Nest cameras. You're watching a man walk up your drive. He's wearing a mask and carrying a crowbar.
He could be your Uncle Joe.
It could be Uncle Joe. Or a murderer.
Do not trust us because we're only an LLM and we don't know what truth is.
There will be a natural language input for creating smart home routines, a smarter, aka Gabbier assistant for smart speakers and displays, and an all-new voice. But most of these features will be paywalled behind a Nest-aware subscription, which is pretty expensive, as I remember.
Oh, come on.
$8 a month, $80 a year. That's the base model. It'll launch first in Google's public preview beta program. So if you're in that program, you can expect to get that, and then more users will get it next year. And then this is the new Google Smart Home Hub, aka the TV Streamer 4K. It is a Matter controller, a Thread border router, and a TV streamer. And that's going to be coming out. I think it's $100, as I remember, which is more than the old Chromecast.
You can buy an old Chromecast now, but they're making no more. So if you want it for the old time's sake, buy it now.
And while the technology behind Chromecast persists, the name, it looks like, is gone. So that's the end of the line for Chromecast.
Hates investing in brands and not throwing it away.
No, yes, continuity bad. And a new Nest Learning thermostat. So there may be a lot of things to talk about on Tuesday.
Good.
Yeah. Here's an example, by the way. A person unloading groceries from the car. The caption is, a young person in casual clothing standing next to a parked black SUV. They're carrying grocery bags. The car is partially in the garage, and the area appears peaceful.
It's a black SUV. They're carrying weapons. Run!
So they've created like a Faulkner AI? Is that it's a stream of conscience?
The area appears peaceful. That's hysterical.
And then
you want to hear the let's see, here's the new voice. I'll play it for you here.
Hey Google, is Pluto a planet?
Pluto is no longer classified as a planet. It was reclassified as a dwarf planet in 2006 by the
It doesn't sound that different, but I like it. It's a little more human. It's got a little vocal fry.
International Astronomical Union. This is because Pluto doesn't meet all the criteria to be a planet, which includes having a clear orbital
diameter. Even a little lisp, a little fetching little lisp. Anyway,
they should get the voice actress who does Cortana in the Halo series to be a Google voice.
Did Microsoft use her for Cortana?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, she had a sexy voice. Yeah, and I don't know if this is a selling point, but the new thermostat says a Pixel watch on your wall. Really? You think that's?
There's a new Nest Learning thermostat, a new Google TV streamer, and Gemini Intelligence is coming.
No, I think, is that Ms. Toohey? I don't know.
I want it the other way. I want a Nest thermostat on my wrist.
Yeah.
I think that's the way.
That would be good. It's getting hot in here.
Every day it tells you you're hot.
Google also had a big Android update. I'm on a Samsung phone, so I'm back in June. That's not good news because there were 46 vulnerabilities patched in August, including a 0-day, which Google says is maybe under limited targeted exploitation. CV 2024 369er71. It's a use after free weakness in the kernel's network route management.
I'm old enough to remember when we had to worry about actually updating our phones. It's so nice.
Yeah, now they update themselves.
Yeah,
but
that's right.
This is why you want, probably, if you care, a Pixel, because it's going to be up to date with the August update. And like I said, my Samsung's back in June, happily going, yeah, I'm fine. What about it? Nothing more here. So there are some serious issues that are being patched. Earlier this year, Google patched another 0-day that was in the wild. So this is not even the first. At least they patch it, right? Make sure you keep your phone up to date. Do you have a choice? I don't know. It's just the way it is.
I think I still have 6 years left on my 8 Pro. It's 7 years, right? They guarantee 7
years. The new ones are
8.
7. Yeah. In fact, Samsung I got the Flip 6 and it says 7 years.
There you go.
So that's good. Yeah.
Versus my OnePlus, which was, I think, 2. After 2, they abandoned it.
Yeah, for a long time.
Yeah.
The godmother of AI says California's well-intended AI bill will harm the U.S. ecosystem. Fei-Fei Li.
She's right.
Yes, Fei-Fei Li.
Right.
Yeah. She says, this SB 1047, a well-meaning piece of legislation will have significant unintended consequences, not just for California, but for the entire country. It's not yet law, but if passed into law, it will harm our budding AI ecosystem, especially the parts of it that are already disadvantaged compared to today's tech giants, the public sector, academia, and little tech. It'll unnecessarily penalize developers, stifle the open source community, and hamstring academic AI research, all while failing to address the very real issues it was authored to save.
Exactly. It's the problem of thinking that you can make the machine responsible for everything that anyone could ever do with it. And it goes back to, if I may go back to Rare Book School for a moment, as I've said in the show before, it's like telling Gutenberg, okay, but don't ever let this guy Luther ever get near this thing.
Hey, wait a minute.
Yeah. And so the same problem here is the reflex is to try to regulate the technology, the technologists, when it's the use of it where that's going to occur. And it's well-intentioned maybe, but it's just naive as hell. And it's not going to solve anything. It's only going to hurt the ecosystem. She's right.
One of the things she doesn't like is a kill switch mechanism. She says all models over a certain threshold must, in this bill, must include a kill switch by which the program could be shut down at any time. This completely comes from too many sci-fi movies.
Yeah.
Yeah. Someone has watched too much Person of Interest.
Yeah.
There was an entire episode dedicated to that.
Oh, you got to have a kill switch. What about RoboCop? She says if developers are concerned the programs they download and build on will be deleted, they'll be much more hesitant to write code and collaborate. The kill switch will devastate the open source community. It will cripple public sector and academic AI research. Anyway, it does. And she says, most alarmingly, this bill does not address the potential harms of AI advancement, including bias and deep fakes.
Yes. Robert, you were going to say?
Well, I was just saying, on Twit, we often talked about the vulnerability of LLMs to poisoning the well. That's the thing that they actually should be dealing with, not open source. Open source, by its very nature, is not going to suffer from what we consider the worst case scenario, which is you have a poisoned well that you don't know is poisoned. An open source LLM, you're going to know it's poisoned because you can see how it's working. So I really don't. When I looked at this, I was happy at first because I thought, oh, good, they're taking this seriously. They're actually going to look at some legislation to make sure that this is shepherded properly. And then I looked at the bill, and it was so disappointing.
Yeah, and well, so the White House, by the way, recently said that they don't see any reason to regulate open source. Yeah, which is a good thing. What fascinates me, Father, is what I want to have somebody write a book for this. I might be editing a book series on this kinds of stuff, and it fascinates me to look at this as the amoral machine.
Yes,
it's not immoral; it's amoral. It doesn't think, it doesn't know, it doesn't have any intent. There's nothing about it, and with all the anthropomorphization that goes on, I don't think people have gotten their heads around that. It is a machine that's among us that someone can make do anything.
Right.
And
it's
and
a sociopath versus psychopath.
Oh, say more.
Yeah. Well, I mean, so a sociopath just doesn't have the ability to see anything beyond what his own directives are. It's not that he's a evil person. It's not that he wants to do bad things. It's just that he sees no restriction against doing those if it will forward his aim. Versus a psychopath is someone we would consider is just there to cause chaos. He actually wants to cause pain, to cause suffering. So they think it's psychopathic. It's sociopathic. In other words, as long as we tell it to want the things that it should want, it's never going to do anything that is beyond our control or beyond scope.
Yeah. Thank you.
Meanwhile, an AI dentist has performed its first procedure.
Get ready for the video, because those of you on video, you're going to squirm, I guarantee.
Is it safe? Is it safe?
Why do we always refer back to that movie? I don't.
Well, because it made an
dentist.
impact. This is what movie was that? It was
Marathon Man.
Marathon Man, yeah. And the torturer using dental tools.
Mm-hmm.
It was not good.
So if you go to the company site there, you'll see a video where it's basically like a 3D robot, 3D printer in reverse. You got a plug in your mouth, and it's drilling it down. It's in there, Leo. I forget where. Yeah.
This picture I'll show, but should I show the video? I don't know if it's going further.
Show it.
Do I get to wear the glasses? That's all.
Content warning. Content warning.
Content warning. Dental procedures ahead. All right, here we go. This is the. Should I leave the sound off?
Yeah.
So is this a robot doing this?
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. That's enough. I don't want to see any more.
I don't.
It's a little too near your pink skin.
Yeah.
So it's. Oh God, no! That looks painful.
Yeah, that's what it's doing.
Okay. I'm sorry.
You gotta show it.
No,
I'm not. I have editorial discretion here. Do not like. Is this the one that raised $30 million from Mark Zuckerberg's dad?
Well, not all the money from him, but he invested in it. Yes, because including Zuckerberg is a dentist.
He's a dentist. Oh,
he's a dentist. Yeah.
Okay, and he has a little money now. Mark cut him a check, maybe. I don't know. Okay.
I can see the remake. Click here if it is safe.
Is it safe? Without Zuckerberg money, limited private funding is available for elections. This is from the Washington Post.
4 years ago, Chan Zuckerberg Foundation gave a lot of money to help run local
$332 million.
And one should say that we shouldn't need any private money to run elections, but hello, that's where we are now. Exactly. And they've stopped doing that because it was meant to be kind of a temporary thing, COVID-y and all that. But now more than ever, local governments need the help, and they don't have it.
Well, that is, on the face of it, a real problem in a democracy where you're not providing the funds needed for elections. You have to rely on the private sector and the kindness of strangers to have elections. That's crazy.
He has to buy his gold chains now, so priorities.
Zuckerberg said he made a one-time donation to the center in 2020 because of the pandemic, which fueled a spike in costs for election officials. The problem is, we don't have to buy PPE anymore, I guess, but you still expensive. There are critical funding gaps. Whose responsibility is that? The states?
Yeah, states and counties. Yeah,
and counties. Running elections across the U.S. costs $2 to $5 billion a year. Congress allocated $55 million for elections this year. There's a gap. State and
that's
local
called
governments.
An unfunded mandate. Yeah.
You have to have elections, but you figure out how to pay for it. Maybe I don't know, maybe you go to Chipotle and you say, we'd like to put a voting booth in a Chipotle, and you have to buy a burrito bowl in order to vote or something like that. There's got to be a public-private handshake here somewhere.
When I was still living in San Francisco, I was volunteering every year to the polling station.
To the polls?
But
good.
They are required to give you a check for your time there. But the unspoken agreement between the people who were volunteering all the time is you don't cash the check, because if you cash the check, you're going to bankrupt the organization. That's
wow. You have on the ground knowledge.
Yeah.
So they give you a check. It's probably not a big check.
It's not a big check, but I mean, you add them all up.
Cash it.
It's too much.
5,000 communities are eligible for grants. Most of them have fewer than 5,000 residents of voting age. So there will be grants available from the Center for Tech and Civic Life. This is wrong. This is wrong.
Should we have to be begging for donations for our elections?
This is just wrong. Yeah.
Right. That's what's wrong here. But there's all kinds of bad stuff happening now. And so what we need is Justice Department investigations of the bad stuff that's happening, but that's another story.
I have to give a little credit to Justice Neil Gorsuch for even knowing this story. He has a book coming out this week called Overruled: The Human Toll of Too Much Law. One of the examples he uses is Aaron Swartz, who, of course, you probably remember, one of the authors of RSS, a really brilliant young man who was prosecuted kind of mercilessly by the federal government using the Computer Fraud Act. His crime was downloading journals from
we paid for the
research, scientific journals, and making them public. Of course, they were owned by a company, and he downloaded. He downloaded them. He had an account as a student, but he downloaded them illegally and distributed them. So he committed a crime. He ended up took his own life because he faced the decades in prison under the Computer Fraud Act for downloading too many research papers while on a college campus that had an unlimited subscription.
MIT.
Yeah.
Well, we've got that tomfoolery going on right now. There's a bill in Congress that would allow private corporations to own the text of laws, because they're already submitting them to their representative to
they wrote them,
turn into bills. They wrote them, so they say, well,
it's kind of an admission, isn't it? We wrote them, so they're ours.
Yeah.
Anyway, thank you, Neil Gorsuch, for remembering that tragic story of Aaron Swartz. Amazon is pushing fast delivery into rural areas. They want to challenge the post office. I can order something from Amazon now and get it the same day. And I'm not exactly in a big city. I can get it within
30 minutes, Leo. 30 minutes.
That's crazy.
There's an Amazon fulfillment center down the street.
Yeah.
Wow.
E-commerce giant this is Wall Street Journal, expanding to remote areas after years of fine-tuning its delivery systems in more dense areas so that everyone in America can get stuff within minutes. This, of course, because they don't want to pay money to UPS, USPS, or FedEx for deliveries. They want to do their own with contract deliveries. Amazon, the journal says, Amazon isn't trying to deliver itself to 100% of the customers in the U.S., but it is targeting 90%.
And then the post office has the last 10 most expensive places to get stuff.
Exactly.
Right. If it's real expensive, we'll let the government do it. Mm-hmm. Amazon says it now delivers more than 2/3 of its own packages in America. Wow. The U.S. Postal Service has been raising rates and reducing pickups in some areas to compel shippers to use more of the Postal Service's network. The USPS has said it wants to modify contracts to end discounts to shippers dropping off parcels at delivery units just for the difficult final mile. Amazon, interesting, very interesting article. Getting toilet paper to Eli, Minnesota.
And this has an impact on media to this extent. The post office's business went away in first-class mail. It went away because nobody writes letters anymore. It went away in huge numbers of packages, even though there's more packages out there now. Amazon's delivering them. So the business they have left is junk mail, which competes with newspapers.
Oh, God.
Actually, the Postal Service is in some cases in the junk mail business. Exactly. I made the mistake of filing a change of address form because we're closing the studio, so we wanted to have the mail delivered to
all to your house.
Well, then we have a post office box, but now I'm getting mail that says official federal mail, government mail from the U.S. Postal Service. Inside, it's coupons.
Yeah.
Oh, you're moving. Maybe you'd like to buy something from U-Haul. It's coupons. I'm getting junk mail from the U.S. Postal Service. Well, they got to make money somehow, I guess. I wish it didn't say on the front official U.S. Postal Service mail open immediately. It's just coupons. Do you want to talk about Caesar wraps?
No,
I think you must have put this
in. I did, but it's a dumb story, so never mind. Why is this simple wrap hot? Because TikTok talked about it, and it's just about virality, but that's enough. Now you know the story.
I think this might be a good time, 2 hours in, to wrap this show up with a final break and then your picks of the week. And then every one of you watching will get to pick one item from the studio to take home from our studio audience. You all get something. You're watching This Week in Google, episode 780, coming to you, the last show coming to you live from the East Side studio in Petaluma, California. Let us, I don't know if we told you about the picks. I'm sure, Father Robert, do you have something you want to pick?
I'm going to pass, but I reserve the right to come back because I'm thinking of one right now.
I thought you might be interested in the tulip. Did you see the tulip.computer?
I did.
You do your share of projects, right?
I do.
Yeah. Let me find this. I think I put it in the rundown, but I don't see it anymore. Let's go look at my my bookmarks. I picked this out specifically for you. It's a creative computer, affordable, portable, focused device, and it does two things: music, writing, and coding. Wait, that's three things. Okay. It's a little Python portable computer. Touchscreen and a music synthesizer. I know, all built in. It ships with an AMY synthesizer. It's completely open source. It's as cheap as possible, $59.
Okay, that's easy.
Yes.
I'm definitely going that.
Yeah. I thought this was kind of cool. I wanted to give it a little plug tulip.computer if you're interested in getting a tulip. I don't know. It doesn't come with that beautiful keyboard, I'm sure. But it comes with a synthesizer. It comes with 1040 by 600 7-inch touch screen, fully programmable in Python, runs at 30 frames per second, support for PNG, sprites, scrolling background, shapes. You can do your UI and LVGL. It's not an operating system. It's not Linux. It's not Windows. It's Tulip. And stereo out. And I guess Python is the whole thing.
I got it up here. That looks like a really fun gadget. And it comes with its own music.
That's the Tulip. That's the Tulip. Keyboard not included.
Hi, you're watching Floyd Steinberg's YouTube channel.
See, I'm sort of saving myself for what I might see tomorrow when I get to DEF CON. I'm really in security mode right now. I'd love to find some penetration testing tools. The Flipper Zero was a good start, but I hear there's some.
You still have the Flipper, right? I gave you my Flipper. Have you hacked the hell out of it?
Oh gosh, yes. This device can now open up every garage door on this street.
It went to a good home. I'm really glad. That's awesome. What do you expect? We should have talked more about DEF CON and Black Hat. What are you expecting to see? In the past, they've done some interesting things, one of which really made a big difference. They had the voting machine city, right? Where people got to hack on voting machines. And as a result, voting machine integrity is now encoded in the law.
And last year we did a fantastic village that was we were trying to poison AIs, poison LLM.
That's right. I remember that. Yeah.
And I think the first confirmable case was like 15 minutes. It only took 15 minutes for us to break this thing. So that's going to come back. And actually, I do want to spend much more time there because there are some interesting tools that have come out that are much better at poisoning wells in the wild. So last year, it was more or less a very closed environment. So it was easier to get to. But now we have methods of poisoning some of the more popular LLMs that are actually being in use today. It's that's got me interested. I think that's actually going to be a big story. The other thing is,
so they'll do that AI. They'll do that AI prompt hack village again.
Yes.
This year.
Yeah. Oh, okay. It was so much fun. We have to. Do it again.
Yeah. What else? Any other villages we should look for?
The Red Team. So the Red Team village, they've got a whole new suite of tools that, well, as the name might imply, are good for Red Team. If you are the person who's trying to penetrate a network, it's accessible to people who are just starting out, even those who are in the script kiddie stage. But the tool that they put
come
together,
on, all you script kiddies, come on down.
Yeah, I mean, they've gotten remarkably good at taking advancements in security protocols and turning them in on themselves. So there's a couple.
And they got some pretty good patches too. If you want to get the Red Team Village patch, I've got it on my screen right here. Benito.
Well, you know who the Red Team patch comes from, right?
It's the devil.
No.
Is this a trick question? Did you do this?
I'm getting a little award tomorrow for because it's Spartan Leet is from Red Team, and that's me.
Wow.
So you did? Wait a minute. You designed this patch? What?
No. So we were coming up with ways of promoting the Red Team. And,
the idea for the patch.
The idea for the patch and what we're going to call it and how we can promote it.
Let's make this your pick. Red Team Village patch.
Yeah, actually, yes. Let's do that. If you're in Las Vegas, go to DEF CON, go to the Red Team Village. I'll be in there.
August 8th through 11th. And if you go to redteamvillage.square.site, you can check out the coin and the patch at the online store. But hurry, because sales end tonight at midnight Pacific time. And then you have to pick it up at the RTV at DEF CON. And you can meet Father Robert there at the Red Team Village.
That's the best part. Yeah.
I have created 30 challenge coins that are based on ciphers that are from the archives. They're going to be
how do we just go up to you and say, I challenge thee?
No. They are actually, I will not have them on my person. I could give people clues, but they are hidden in certain locations around Las Vegas, not just DEF CON. We do this. This is the fun stuff. This is summer camp, Leo. It's geeks.
I love it. Yeah. I've got to go sometime with you to DEF CON. I mean, you'd be the perfect person to go with.
Yeah,
next year, maybe.
Let's plan it. I'll show you everything.
Yeah, I want to go with a real guide. That would be so much fun.
I mean, it could be after your year in Rome, right?
Yeah. We should just get married, Robert, and just leave it at that. Let's. It's a broham brothers.
But you can
DEF CON 29.
The senior
30, 31, 32.
Senior priest.
Yeah.
The senior cruise.
Oh, that's right. The Silver Foxes.
Yes.
On the freighters. Thank you, Robert. So nice to have you. I'm really glad you could fill in today, and I do look forward to seeing you. Have a great time at Black Hat and DEF CON. That's going to be a lot of fun.
Thank you.
That's going to be wonderful. Jeff Jarvis, pick of the week.
I'll do a cool site of the day. Public.work.
I like the name. What does it do?
If you go there, it is a search engine for public domain images of all sorts from 3 or 4 sources.
Oh. And always good to have.
If you go to, I think it's the upper right, it'll tell you where they're from, the question mark. And then you can search for something.
Right. It's an infinite scroll.
There's an eye there.
Oh, there. Okay.
So it's from
100,000 copyright-free images from the Met, the New York Public Library, and other sources.
So
and they're all public domain.
Go, Father Robert, give it a search. Something appropriate.
Let's see. We should search for pictures.
I got the wrong address. Okay, hold on.
Public.work.
There you go.
Let's see how it's doing on
pictures of
Satan. You can use this in your next homily. Wow. Here he is smoking a cigarette. Oh no, he's smoking a human. Never mind. Wow, that's fun. I'm sorry
I
for
put
the
Pope
sacrilege.
Pius X on. Oh my goodness, that is fantastic.
Pope? Really?
Pius
there are a lot of pictures? And why the 10th?
All of the pictures. Oh, I'll leave that as an Easter egg for the audience. They can look that up and find out why that's historically significant.
He has different looks depending on the.
Whoa, that is way more than I thought would exist.
Yeah,
there are a lot.
The thing. It's quite amazing. Now, was he
a controversial pope? Is that why there's these?
I don't want to spoil the Easter egg.
Okay. We'll leave that as a exercise for the reader.
Wait, are these all in the common domain?
They're all public domain.
That's the beauty of it.
Goodness. Fantastic.
All the tweets that come out of this. Oh,
that's rocket ship.
That goes
public.work. See, this would be so useful. And of course, the public domain is expanding. A lot of this stuff is older stuff, right? Because of that. But wow, that's really cool.
Consider my organization. The older stuff is much better. That's
yeah. Where are you going to go to find?
I give credit to Ben Evans. It was one of his just interesting things of the week.
Wow, no kidding. Public.work. That is one bookmark for sure.
The other tip of the week is I just want to tip my hat to Jammer B for all the geeky help he has given me over the years. Thank you, John.
Love you, Jammer B.
I appreciate all you've done.
You're going to make him cry. You're going to make me cry. We do love you, John.
Have a great second retirement. I'll take lessons from you about how to retire.
He's going to pack his entire home on his top of his car and drive up north. He has been such an amazing inspiration for this. All 3 studios. Without him, none of this would exist. And
they are complex
such a great
operations.
partner and such a good friend, Jammer B.
Yes.
And I don't think we're going to hear a lot from him. I've asked him to come on to join us and stuff. He doesn't want to do that. He's done. He's moving on.
It's his way. Jammer B.
It's his way. Like it is. He's very private.
Into the sunset. Yeah. But you will.
Leo, I have one other thing. I have a thing for me.
Benito Gonzalez,
before we go.
Director and producer. Yes, sir.
Since it's our last day in the office and everything, I will show you that I made it to the front of Google Maps for our office.
Oh my God! It drove by while you were there coming to work.
I saw it coming. So I went outside.
That was not so long ago because that's when we had the hornet infestation.
Yeah, June. It was in June.
So you were putting your life in danger to be out there. Fantastic.
He was.
That's dedication.
That sawhorse there says, "Don't walk here. There's wasps right here. A nest." Wow, good for you. That's forever.
Congratulations.
Well, for the next maybe
Review is
4
forever.
years or whatever until the truck comes back.
Go it out again. A Google Map legacy. Thank you, Benito Gonzalez, who will continue to be our technical director and producer for this show and This Week in Tech. He is going to be doing it from his house from now on. Right now, he's just down the hall. We're practicing. All of our editors, Kevin King, Benito, Anthony Nielsen, John Ashley, will be working extra hard to keep the stuff going. They'll be the central point where everybody will, call into, and they'll be running the shows from their houses. I will be up in my attic. Jeff will be wherever Jeff is, and everybody else and so forth. So it's going to be a bit of a change. I don't think it should sound any different at all, and it will look just slightly different. That's all. But we do want to keep doing what we're doing. And we do hope you will join the club so you can help us do that. twit.tv/clubtwit. That's the place to go if you want to know what's happening. We will, of course, always post there. Long live Jammer B. I agree.
Jammer B.
To a long and a prosperous retirement. Do you have a homily, a retirement homily, Father Robert?
It goes something along the lines of, don't fall and break your hip.
He already had the hip replaced, so he's good on that. It's titanium now. Thank you to everybody who watches the show. We do this week on Google every Wednesday, 2 p.m. Pacific, 5 p.m. Eastern, 2100 UTC. We will, the good Lord willing, the creeks don't rise, be doing it again this time next week, but from a new locale.
And Tuesday we'll be doing the Google thing.
Yes, 10 a.m. Pacific for the Google announcement. I guess that's it. Is there anything we need to do to decommission the studio? Should we take down anything?
Didn't you have you had a button? You had a button that you pressed and it officially started the studio.
I remember that. In fact, somewhere, John, do we have that video of taking the Brick House live? Because that was pretty cool. Who made that?
Or you could dance on the table again.
Twit.tv. No. This table is going to go to either. There's a bidding war right now between Alex Lindsay and Jason Snell. One of them wants it. Twit.tv/specials number 87.
Yeah, the last 3 minutes.
Is in the last 3 minutes. This is when we debuted the brand new studio. This was 2 studios ago, actually, and we gave you a little tour. There's Colleen, there's Lisa,
Colleen. Skypezilla,
and right after this, I am actually entering the studio, and there was a big button.
Are going to say, "Hey, we lost signal," so that signal is going to go out. But stay there, keep watching it because
there's Dick DiBartolo behind me.
Turn on the streams here in the new stream.
Large studio audience. This is when we were in our heyday, I think. Yeah.
Again. All right. Are we ready?
There's a Dr. Evil chair that has followed us around.
All right, so what we're going to do is we're going to, for the last time, stream from the cottage. We're going to flip the switch. Streamosaurus will.
There's the clock that lived with us for so long.
Oh, I missed that.
I should actually let Colleen do that. Do the honors. And then we will flip the switch here and turn on our new Stream-O-Matic, and you'll be seeing the view from these cameras. So let's do a countdown. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Goodbye,
There's the
Twin
big
Cottage.
scissors.
We'll see you at the Brick House.
There is nothing wrong with your twit. Do not attempt to close this browser. We are controlling the stream. We control the video. We control the audio. You are about to participate in a new online adventure. You are about to experience the sights and sounds of the new Twit Studio. Please stand by. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
There was actually a handover going on at this point, right?
Oh, really?
They were rushing. Wow. They were rushing around.
Yeah. There was actually a 2-minute interval where we disconnected the old stuff and connected it. And there we go. They cut out the.
And Leo shorted out his first computer there. Yeah.
There's Patrick Norton. And we opened the studio. That studio was truly an amazing thing. And you see the bricks.
It was beautiful.
If the landlords hadn't been greedy, so and so,
we'd still be there probably. Yep. Yeah. The new people bought it. They're in prison now, by the way. You did know that, right, Robert?
Yep.
It was a Ponzi scheme, as it turned out. And there's a video. Do you know where it is of the trolley moving from there? We don't know where it is, but we have a video of the trolley moving.
I think
from that studio to this studio.
The Ustream. We were using a Ustream back then.
It got better and better. Yeah. There will be no procession from this studio to the new studio, because the new studio is in my house, and I don't really want to have a procession going in my house. But thank you, everybody, for being such great supporters. Thank you, Jeff. You've been around since before the beginning, and same with you, Robert. I'm glad I could end it with people I know so well who've been with us for so long. Thanks to Patrick Delahanty, who's here. He flew out for the occasion. Our engineer. It's been an amazing time in 8 years in this studio. But I think we have many more years ahead of us. We'll see you next time on This Week in Google. Bye-bye, everybody.